ended up on the winning side of that war, and soon became the group that unified Germany. Although I read something that said he was from Latvia, with a name like von Schmidt, I decided to take the Prussian story. This is Alexis von Schmidt. And it's interesting that he says a pioneer. This is a guy, this is how he wanted to be remembered. And that's one of the interesting things about wandering in this cemetery is, and life and death, is, you know, your gravestone in a lot of ways is how you want to be remembered. And I actually don't think of him as a pioneer in sort of that same sense of covered wagons and hardships on the trail and things like that. He came to San Francisco, of course, in 1849, like a lot of these people did, drawn by the gold rush, young men looking to make fortunes. He trained in the U.S. as an engineer, and he became a surveyor. And he had grand visions. This was a guy who had passions about doing big, big things, lots of which never came to fruition. He incorporated a couple of engineering firms and ended up in ownership. And in 1863, he went up to Tahoe, and he had this grand idea about taking the water from Tahoe and draining it down to give San Francisco its water. And of course, the Nevadans thought very little of this idea, and there was a huge Tahoe water war over it, and it actually never came to fruition because of that. He later went to Virginia City with some other big ideas. At one point, he cleared the channel between Treasure Island and San Francisco. He said he was going to do it with dynamite. There was going to be a huge blast and a huge wave, and of course everyone came down to see it, and were very disappointed. He blasted successfully to deepen the channel, but it wasn't a big event at all. So everyone thought very little of him for that. He did, with Chabot, who we're going to talk about pretty much next, he founded the San Francisco Water Works, which really put the whole infrastructure of the water system into San Francisco. And so this was a guy who thought of, he was very successful, but, you know, he's an engineer and a surveyor. He'd like to be remembered as a pioneer.